what's up, guys? It's your girl, Chrys Childs, Why on the one and only FUBU Radio. You know, I'm glad you tapping in and locked in, but you know, the only way to truly stay tapped is to post. What else? Follow me. All right. Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up? It's your girl, Chrys with a Y. Don't ask me why.
Why, Chrys? Why?
You know why? No, we're sitting here with my boy, my friend, the CEO of FUBU Radio, Mr. Kizo.
What's happening? What's happening?
Is that a good introduction?
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
So, you know, we sitting here having some conversations on air. You know, because we always sit back and just random wild conversations just be coming up just because, you know, we two intellectual individuals.
Exactly.
So we going to sit here and share some of our conversation and insights with you guys. Y'all ready for this?
I'm ready.
You ready?
Let's go.
All right, well, I have a couple of things to bring up.
What's up?
So, I ain't gonna lie, it's a little crazy, the dating world and stuff. So some guy randomly just walked up to me while I was waiting to park my car and just gave me his number and put his phone.
Ooh, he did the old school?
The old school, super old school. You know, I'm not gonna lie, when things like that happen, I feel bad because it's hard out here. Like, how are you gonna meet people in the age of like social media and everybody's just so guarded. I'm not gonna lie, I'm guarded.
Right.
I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what? Stranger danger. Stop talking to me.
Stranger danger.
You know, and I know you've been married, you know, so you've been off the market. It's been a long time for you, but I'm sure, like, you notice the difference.
Oh, no. I have, like, you know, my barber, she's, you know, mid-50s, and I remember her saying to me how the dating world is now, and, you know, if anybody wants to get next to her, they have to wait 90 days. And I was like, girl, ain't nobody doing that no more. I said, you know what happened? Social media really messed it up for all of that, you know, because people on social media be trying to do the most. So why would a guy wait for you 90 days when he can just show a bunch of money on Instagram and some jewelry or whatever it is and play that front of, you know, he's this type of person, and the birds will flock to that. You know what I mean? So once they flock to it, you know, he takes them out, buys them a couple of drinks, buys a couple of bottles. That next night, the night after, whatever, and he's in there, you know? So
I mean, let's really talk about it. Like, it's way more promiscuous or accepted promiscuity than it was prior, you know? And I don't think there's anything wrong with putting boundaries in what you will and will not accept, but like just what you just said, putting money on Instagram to attract the birds, you know what I'm saying? It's a different quality. And I think the problem here is we're comparing things to social media and saying, oh, well, this is what I want and I'm gonna do things and you're gonna treat me like this. But I think if you're gonna have these standards of saying like 90 days or he can't touch me and you're entitled to that. It's your body.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's very quick to be ran through if you just be like with everybody.
Right.
But at the same time, it has to be worth it.
Right.
You can't just say, these are my conditions, take it or leave it. Like, there has to be some, like, why is it worth the 90 days? Or
but
why?
You have, you know, a lot of older gentlemen, like my age, over 50, you know, some guys don't like the challenge. They don't like the combativeness that, or the intellectual capabilities that an older woman has. They rather go to a younger woman and run the circles around her because she's not that experienced. You know what I'm saying? So,
but we're still talking about like what people want versus what they think other people want. Because let's be honest, you know, I do agree, older women, you know, they're stuck in their ways. You know, I'm going to do things that way. I'm going to do this. And then let's say you bringing it to Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones tired. He old. You know what I'm saying? I don't got time for this. I don't want to deal with your attitude, with your rules, with this and the third. And I think that's where women of any age just need to take it back. Because even the younger ones is like, if you ain't got this, you ain't got no money, you ain't popping these bottles, I ain't messing with you.
Right.
Where it does make, you know, Mr. Smith with the piece of paper, you know,
I haven't seen that in a long time. Like somebody just walk up and give
it makes you, I'm gonna be honest with you, like I feel bad because I'm someone who, I'm aware of people's feelings.
Right.
Like I don't want to do anything to play you like, yo, what are you doing or whatever. Like I'm not receptive to that, to be honest with you. Because I mean, let's be honest, it's hard. It's hard to meet people, especially if you want to go. You're not in a place where like you're mentally like even trying to meet people. You're just moving around, especially in New York City. It is just hard. And I'm going to say this. Women do have more options because, you know, you're more malleable. You can play the game differently. And men are put with this immense pressure to be I guess, the starting 5 details or attributes of a man. Gotta have money. He's gotta be tall. He gotta be built. He gotta be this. He gotta be that. But I think what's happening is you listing off all these things, but I think a lot of women aren't asking themselves the question, am I in a place where I can require those things from a man? And I think that's where the disconnect is,
right.
On both sides, because a man might say, I want a girl to look like this and she needs to be at home doing the housework. But then it's like, these bills paid, when you say housework, do you mean I have to work too? It's not equal. So we're experiencing what I like to call option paralysis. We think there's so many options that we don't necessarily choose, which does become hard. And I'm going to say I'm a self-proclaimed good girl. I haven't had many relationships. I don't be out there. And just looking around, dealing with, even if I'm thinking about getting back into the pool, it's just the way men talk to you is bugged out. And I'm not going to lie. I'm going to shock you. I'm going to be like, yo, why are you talking to me like that? And they'd be like, oh, nobody's ever asked me.
Yeah.
But nobody's ever asked you because it's being accepted.
Right.
Or, for instance, I remember being at this party years ago. And, beautiful women at the club, men there spending money. And the guy goes and talks to one girl, gets rejected. Goes to the one next to her, gets rejected. Goes to the next one. By the time you got to me, boy, you don't think I'll see what you're doing? Even if there was a chance, I don't want to be one of your options of the night.
Right?
You just shooting your shot and hoping it stick. What they say, spaghetti at the wall?
Yeah, listen. What is it, law of attraction? You talk to 10, you might get 1, so.
That's not law of attraction, that's gambling.
Yeah, well, that's how.
Because the thing about it is, it's not about, it's not about you talking to all these different women. I'm looking at the type of women you talking to.
Yeah.
Okay, you want the skinny girl, you want the big girl, you want the girl that got the glasses. You don't know what you want. You're just trying to get laid. You better get up out of here.
You're just trying to holler, right?
And I ain't mad at you. Shoot your shot, at the end of the day. And I definitely commend the men that are willing to talk to women because it is hard. I'll be honest with you.
I never really had no game. I was always just straight up. I didn't have all that. You know what I'm saying? Listen, I'm going to do this. I ain't never have all of that. And I'm laser focused. When I see what I want, that's what I want. And if I don't get what I want, I'm all right. I'm
on to the next one.
Yeah, then I'll go somewhere else years down the line, maybe see another something that I want, and then I'll holler. But
man, what is game? I don't even understand that because it's almost like a lot of men have the same playbook. It's I'm gonna come up to you like this. I think we've had this conversation. I used to play this game at the bar with people. It's messed up, but they would ask me for my number, and I'd be like, why? And then they would be stuck.
Yeah.
Right? Wouldn't even know to ask, and they'd be like, because I want to get to know you. I was like, you want to get to know me? Then what's my name? And they're like, all right, let's start over. How you doing? What's your name? Can I get your number?
Let me get right back to that.
And it used to be, I used to go back and forth if I had time, especially at the bar when I was bartending. I'd go back and forth with them about 5 questions in before they realized, okay, you know what? I'm approaching this person completely wrong. Well, that time I already discarded you, ain't even thinking about you. But in my way, that was me also I guess a silent protest of teaching a lesson of not every woman you could talk to like that.
Yeah.
And you gotta be prepared because the thing about it is why are you coming to me? Because as a woman, you know what I'm saying? I want to feel special. Yeah. I want to feel you making a beeline to me. You're not just shooting a shot. Because I consider myself a quality woman. Again, it's going to work with different women. It depends on what you want. If you want sex, say that. Because there's plenty of people. There's apps for that.
Yeah.
You don't even got to pay for prostitutes no more. There's apps for that.
I don't even know about nothing about that.
There's apps for that. Tinder.
Oh, yeah.
That's all they do.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I watched a couple movies
funny?
On that one.
Me and my wife joke about it all the time. We always talk about how, we would sit there, we watching stuff say 90 Day Fiance or something like that, and we'll be bugging. We'll be like, wow, this seems really desperate. These people are they have to go all the way across the world to find somebody. They can't find anybody in the United States. In none of these 52 states, they can't find anybody.
That's crazy though, but you shouldn't just have this one pond to fish.
Yeah, but listen, they going over there because it's a reason why they going over there. It's not that they can't find nothing over here. They don't want the challenge. like I've always been like, I grew up with my moms, right? So my mom's is very headstrong, very, outspoken. So I want a woman like that. You know what I mean? Like I don't want somebody who's gonna listen to my every beck and call and everything that I say.
Because you want a partner.
Yeah, like, so there's a reason why they go over there. You know what I'm saying? It's I call it the male or the bride, but they made a whole show about it. But that's what it is.
I mean, but if you really think about it, like think about the Americanization of marriage. We get in, we get out. It's like, okay, it ain't working. You arguing. I saw a clip of an elderly couple, and they were like, man, y'all get into one argument and y'all ready to just call it quits.
Ready to go out the door.
And again, that's because we think we have so many options and the grass is always greener on the other side. But one thing that you said, like you wanted someone like your mother, and that's very important to have, like strong people in your family to show you what a dynamic is supposed to look like, because some people, want the exact opposite because it is too hard or whatever the case is. But the thing about it is, you thinking about it is, the people who are thinking about it as too hard, I should say, are people that are looking for something easy. They don't want to be challenged. They just want to coast through life. And that's okay if you want that, but find someone that fits that narrative. So like you say, they go across seas and that's what they want. They just want someone that they can have consistent sex with, someone that's going to cook, someone that's going to clean, and ain't going to be asking them a million questions when they leave out the door. And again, that is realistic if you're searching for a person who also fits that narrative. You can't pick, the strongest and baddest in the room and be like, you gonna listen. Like, hold up. It don't work like that.
It don't work like that.
And it's kind of messed up. I actually want to play a clip because I think this was very, very interesting. And this was on my drive over. This is Ebony K. Williams. She basically just said that women should be getting wedding rings right alongside getting degrees. Now, I want to play like what she said, because I don't know how I feel about this, but I have some comments.
Right.
So let me.
Needs to be said.
All right.
The reality that needs to be said out loud is that as black men age, their desirability increases. Thus, their optionality of women is always expanding. And the exact opposite is true for black women. As we age, doesn't matter how much money we accumulate, our degrees or professional accolades, the reality is that our marriage and partnership market value is depreciating with every passing year. No matter how good we look, no matter how fit we are, men are still seeing primarily our presumed dwindling fertility as a knock against us. And speaking of fertility, that is another reason that I want younger black women to seek marriage and partnership in college or right after, if that's what they choose. Because the number of college-educated black men are so low when compared to black college-educated women that we're all going to be targeting the same small pool of men. And as we heard today, on most campuses, there's like 7 black women students for every 1 black man student. Y'all do the math. So here's my advice. If you are a young black woman in college and you know in your heart and in your head that you want to prioritize family, I suggest that you simultaneously pursue that MRS degree right along with that BA or JD. Because a handful of black college-age men that actually do desire to get married soon, and they do share that value system, and family is a priority for them too. Y'all, that is an incredibly small pool, and it's shrinking as you get older. And by the time you reach my age, 40, you will be faced with different choices relating to life partnership and motherhood. Now, I'm not saying that delaying marriage or motherhood is a bad option, but it's one that comes with its own consequences. And our women deserve to know on the front end of their decision making instead of on the back half.
Okay.
I got a few questions.
All right. Let's go. Her tone, obviously, she's speaking from her own point of view. I don't agree with everything that she's saying, but there are some points that she did make, as in having this conversation so that women understand what their options are going into life. Because
Correct.
I'm going to tell you from a woman, like you said, a lot of men don't want to deal with older women because they're already set in their ways. I don't consider myself an older woman. I'm just saying, someone who's an intellectual, and I ain't going for that. I see that, I'm going to let you ask a couple of your questions before we go deep into that.
This was my thing. And I get what she's saying when she says that you should get your ring and your degree right alongside your degree. you're at an age where you really haven't lived.
Bingo.
You're at an age where you're just coming into yourself, and you don't really know what you want. You know what I'm saying? And my thing is, the thing about me and how I view this whole thing is, you have to get to know somebody, and you have to get to know somebody really well, right? And hopefully, getting to know that person will bring you to that point, you know, of marriage or wanting to be married to that person. The first time you fall in love, it's just love. It might not be the one. You can be in love and that person is not the one. And I hate when people try to force the narrative of, oh, I love her, this is the one I'm going to marry, blah, 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 especially at a young age. You know, as you get older, you might, you know, kind of understand, okay, this is what,
the hardest.
Yeah, this is what I want. I think your 20s, you really need to live. Like I got with my wife, I was 25, and we were together for a while before we actually got married. It actually was 11 years. And it was funny because I told her, after like 3 years, I knew, right? So I told her, I was like, you know, I'm going to marry you. So she hit me one day before I told her that. She said, oh, let me ask you a question. What are we doing? Well, what is this all about? Like, what are your plans with me? So I looked at her, I said, no, you the one. I'm gonna marry you, you know, whatever. And she was like, well, I ain't got no ring. So I was like, okay, then, you know, let me step it up. And I think it was in the third year. I'm pretty sure it was in the third year. I gave her a ring, right? Beautiful ring from Jacob, nice. You know, she loved it.
Was this the ring?
It was the ring.
Okay.
It was the ring, right? So she's walking around and everybody's telling how beautiful the ring is. So I thought I had some time. I was like, okay, I got some time now. You know, there's no rush to get married. I just want to let her know, like, here's the ring. This is where I'm going, you know. And I was traveling. I was moving around a lot. But I said, you know, she asked me when the date was. So I said, well, I don't know.
She asked you, and your wife don't play.
She was like, so when are we making it? I said, don't worry about all that, you know. So now time is going on and on and on. People are commenting on the ring. But the one question they kept asking her,
when's the wedding?
When are you guys getting married? She kept saying, oh, we haven't set a date yet. So after like a year of we haven't set a date yet, it turned into, I really don't know. You should ask him.
Absolutely.
I was like,
absolutely.
So now I go from being, you know, up here to like back down here. And I'm like, so I said, you know what? I'm going to pick everything out. I'm going to do everything. But it took me a while, right? And then when she really started getting frustrated, I said, okay, let me take this a little more serious and let me figure this out and start working a date. So I talked to Jay. Jay was like, yo, won't you do it in my house? I have this big basketball court. We could set everything up and, you know. So I'm like, all right, bet. So I'm trying to do that and trying to come up with all this stuff. So one day she said, yo, what are we doing? I said, I'm working on it. I'm setting it up. She said, setting what up? Because I didn't tell her what I was doing. Right? So I said, well, listen, I ain't want to tell you, but this is what I'm doing. She was like, bump all of that. We can go down to the to the Justice of the Peace and get married. You know, we ain't got to do all that, spend all that money. We can spend that money on vacation.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So she was like, so, you know, they can come to the house and we can do it in the house. So this was a Tuesday. I said, okay, well, set it up. I was married that Saturday.
I bet that's right.
I was married.
No time wasted.
Because she already had the dress. I already had my tux. Like everything was already in motion. So, but I was married that Saturday. So we've been together 27 years. And I've been married 16, going on 17. So.
But you knew. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and that's what you were going for, right? But like, again, you were older. You know what I'm saying? You lived a little something, was outside, the parties, the other women, you know, and just being around other women and knowing that who you want to be with is the one, you know? And I think what Ebony said, you know, I think she missed the mark on a lot of things. Like you said, age plays a big factor. You're talking about in college. Like, we're talking about 18 to 22 years old.
Right.
All right? I've been 7 people since I've been 18. I'm gonna be honest with you. I went through all different types of phases. I'm always been me at the core, but when you have different experiences, you meet different people, there's a learning curve.
Yeah.
There's a learning curve that people don't tell you about. And it's not just about like, oh, living life, working, making money, figuring out who the snakes are, figuring out who your real friends are, what your first heartbreak really feels like. The first time your heart is broken when a friend breaks your heart.
Right.
And it's not about those things that you go through, but it's like who you are when you go through them. How do you come out of it? And there's no way for us to like actually determine how that affects someone through being with someone at the end of the day. So it's not just about saying, okay, I know who you are and we taking time to know this person, but I know this person in the core, but they will change. People change as time goes, and they expect you to be in this time capsule, stay the same 18-year-old girl that you were, and that's not feasible.
Not gonna happen.
It's not feasible.
Yeah.
Now, knowing that, a lot of women do get married in college, and I wish them the best. But let's be honest, like by the time they have those 2 kids, and they've been married, let's say if they get married at 23, 35, so like 12 years married. By 35, they divorce, they're unhappy, they have different wants, because y'all got together so young, y'all didn't even really know who y'all were going to become, so now either way, at 35, now you with 2 kids or 1 or 3 kids or whatever the case may be. And it's like you still at that age, 38 to 40 or 35 to 40, and it's like you have to start all over again. And nobody talks about the pieces that a woman has to pick up when she starts a family so young. So there are a lot of factors against you as a woman, I would say, because you're talking about biologically, you're supposed to have kids before a certain age, or that's what they tell us, right? But we also see that a lot of women in African culture, they be having babies like well past their 40s, and I will say this to women who are looking to conceive or up there in age, because unfortunately, I'm not gonna lie, it's messed up. I was reading it the other day. They call it a geriatric pregnancy. If you they call it geriatric. If you're over 38, they call it a geriatric pregnancy. Wow. Because apparently you're
having all of these stats and all this stuff going on. Boy, you always educate me with this stuff.
I got
geriatric pregnancy. Wow,
but
I
it's
never
messed
heard
up.
that.
So think about being an older woman and hearing that already, and I'm a very big believer of, listen, I understand medicine, I understand science, but I wholeheartedly believe in holistic remedies and taking care of yourself. You know, because at the end of the day, everything inside us is living. They're living cells, the nervous system, your brain, your pineal gland, etc. And I'm a firm believer of you don't say bad things to yourself. You don't say if you're feeling sick, oh my God, I'm so sick, I want to die, things like that, because your cells hear that. Your cells believe you. They're an extension of you. Right. And I know that might be a little far-fetched, but, when you say things like geriatric pregnancy to someone who's like excited about having a baby, you have now convinced them that they're too old to have this baby. Now it's the pressure, the stress, the worry, which travels through your body. Right. One of the main reasons that I told you, I stopped eating meat, it wasn't like, oh my God, the animals, it was more or less like a protest, more protesting on this side. But it was, because when I really understood how the animals were being killed, and it's so much the inhumane way of it, their fear was releasing toxins into their bodies, that you eat, and you wonder why you're aggressive, why you're sad, why you're going through all these emotions, because you're consuming something that went through a traumatic event before it got to your table. Now I'm not saying don't eat meat, because to be honest with you, if I had a farm, maybe I would again. I'm well past that, but Ebony, she's making some strong statements, probably because of the things that she's going through in her life, or she has friends in that age group that are going through certain things. But I think it goes back to what we were just saying before we even brought this up. You have all these expectations, and you want, and you this, and you want to pressure, and et cetera, but you want the goal. Do you want the man? It's like, I want the marriage, but do I want this man? Right. And at the end of the day, nothing is cookie cutter. You can't just sit here and say, I'm gonna get married and I'm gonna have all these kids and this and third. There's another saying, they said, you wanna make God laugh, tell him your plans.
Yeah, right. Listen, I know with me, I always said, if, even before I got married, when I was young, I said, if I get married, I'm going to get married one time. That's it. I'm not getting married 4, 5, 6, 7 times. It's all like people, oh, I'm on my third wife. I'm giving it one shot, and however long that lasts, luckily for me, I've been blessed, but one shot, man. I'm not
That's
doing it.
That's because you honor the sanctity of it.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, well, marriage is supposed to be till death do you part. We have these vows for a reason.
Yeah, but I don't even think it's that. I think it's, because I grew up in a time where, that child support was real. You had kids and that alimony and palimony and all that stuff was real. So, it's already hard out here trying to survive and trying to make a living, and if you're making an honest, decent living and you got one wife and a couple of kids and now you got to pay, child support, your whole life changes.
Mm-hmm.
When you leave that woman, your whole life changes unless you're rich. Mm-hmm. But if you're not rich, your whole life changes.
If you're rich, it changes.
Not really, because you have enough money to keep, keep going and keep kind of, depending on how much money you have to live your lifestyle still. But a normal 9 to 5 person, say you making $75,000 a year, what is that, about 40 something, 48, 49 after taxes, you know what I'm saying? So, and then if you have to pay child support and palimony and alimony and all this other stuff, the place that you could afford or wouldn't be able to afford, you can't afford that anymore.
Absolutely.
So now, do you think I'm going to go out there and get married again?
Mm-hmm.
And
that's
this
why
possibly
they say it's
happen.
cheaper to keep her, right?
Yeah, it's cheaper to keep her, but the I wouldn't even say the culture. I would say the way things are set up for men, and we are the cause of most of why these things are happening to us. Not all of us, but a majority of us that do these crazy things or don't, do what they're supposed to do. We create that problem. Whereas, because I know I went through it. I went to child support court, and the judge really tried to just break me down, like really break. And she did, honestly. She really broke me down because I couldn't figure it out. I was like, I worked all this time. I ain't really do nobody wrong. Why is this happening to me? Like, why is this happening? Like, I don't get it. But it was serious, and I went through it, and it was I really got into a depressive state, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, I worked hard to build all of this up for somebody with a stroke of a pen to take it all away, and I just, I was, so, but in this relationship, like right now, I've been with my wife so long, I'm gonna give her, if we're not going to get divorced, but if that ever happened, I don't have a problem giving her what she wants. You know what I'm saying?
And I think that's an important thing because, like, she went for the ride with you. She's been there.
She was shooting in the gym with me.
And I think that's important too because I think a lot of people, they get into these relationships, it ends in a traumatic way, and y'all don't know how to be human beings after, or have a collective uncoupling, for instance. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, like, especially people with kids, like, there's no reason why when it ends that you should not figure out on any way, shape, or form. Like, you have to figure out some way to have a friendship, because if you're not on the same level, that's when it becomes a war. It becomes child support and the only person being affected is the kid because they don't know what's going on. They just picking sides at this point, and it's messed up. But I
used to have nightmares about this. Like, I would see my mother go through it, and we struggled. We was on welfare, and back then I think she was getting like $200 every 2 weeks or something like that, or $200 a month. I think it might have been every 2 weeks. But that wasn't enough to even cover the rent. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, when I'm looking at her and then we on welfare and I'm running to the store with food stamps and all that stuff and hide in the stores, I was like, I don't want to be this person. Like, I want to do everything that I have to do right so that I don't fall into this situation, And even when I had my daughter, I did that, and I literally did everything, but it just didn't work out like that. Years later, I wound up getting hit with it, and I was like, and then what's funny, because other people I know, women that were going through that, were not taking their baby fathers to court. Mm-hmm. They was like, I ain't worrying about it, or I only get $25 every 2 weeks. I'm like,
I mean, because once you actually bring the courts into it, they take their cut from that too. So that whole thing ain't going over to child support. So listen, I think it's smart for anytime you get into a serious relationship with someone to have the real honest conversations. You know, the conversations of what we're gonna go through. You know, are we gonna have kids? Are we gonna get married? How do we want to raise those kids? What religion? Because like these are the things that cause fights, that cause disagreements. And I suggest at this point, especially in today's day and age, paperwork for everything: prenuptial agreements, postnuptial agreements, a child plan. Like, I'm not a parent, you know, but for me, I like to look at things logistically, you know, and say, well, how can we answer all of these questions that we might have should it not work? You know, if you have it in some type of writing, doesn't mean it needs to be followed, but at least there's some type of plan. You know, that you can stick to, because then I think what happens is all the unknowns, the fear, the abandonment, the hurt, you know, which really don't have
and
no place.
It depends on the relationship and how it went down, you know, because my mother used to tell me when I was a little kid, there's nothing worse than a woman scorned. And I've heard it so much, and
You try not to scorn them.
But I never experienced that until, you know, I was in that situation and I got out of that situation, because I just felt like this wasn't for me. You know, I tried it. It just wasn't for me. You know, it was no, you know, craziness. You know, it was little arguments, couple of, you know, pushing and shoving, but it wasn't really nothing crazy. And when I went through it, I was like, wow, so this is what she means. Like, you know, and I straight up, I was like, listen, you ain't got to worry about me taking care of my child. I got that, you know, and I did that.
Yeah, but it was just the anger behind it.
Yeah, but it was just the like you said, it was the anger behind it, and it just never quit. It just never quit. And then some people, you see some people out there in the street, they get along fine, and they, you know, they bring their significant others around, and everybody's cool, and I'm like, oh, I want that life. You know, I wish I could have that, but.
You know, and that goes into what we talking about, like getting to know someone, understanding people, like understanding you and what your triggers are too. Because sometimes we don't do the self-evaluation work. We might say, oh, like, well, they were crazy, or they were this and they were that. But you know, a crazy person can trigger you, you know? And I can honestly say from my own experience, I was in one relationship where it was just unhinged, completely unhinged. And I really sat down and I was like, I do not like who I am. This is not who I've ever been.
Right.
But I'm being triggered constantly, and it's fight or flight, you know, and, you know, I got the hell up out of there, you know, like, you know, it is what it is. But until you experience something like that, or some form of it, to where you can say, well, something is changing in me. This is not who I like to be. We have to make those decisions. Love ain't enough. Definitely. Sex ain't enough. You know, wanting to have somebody's time, or a company, or a companion. And I think we forget these things. And I think, you know, when you kind of find someone close to the one is when you find peace in them.
Right. That
it's a balance. You know, that's like, and I think a lot of women say this too, like, oh, you know, this was boring, or he was a great guy, but it was boring. A healthy relationship is boring. We're so used to toxicity that if there's not a toxic moment in sight, we're like,
let me create one.
You know, or let me get up out of there, or they cheat. You know what I'm saying? Like, and because, you know, women don't say it. They're like, you know, I didn't have no reason to cheat. I just cheated because I was bored, you know? And it's unfortunate, because we have to realize that how we treat people are ripple effects, right? Like I said about this guy who gave me the number, right? I'm not going to react in a way that's going to give a ripple effect on how he conducts himself for the rest of his life. That might work on someone else. I'm not going to ridicule you because it ain't for me. You know, and a lot of women will ridicule a man down to his brim, and it's not right, because you as a woman, you don't want to be told that you ain't even all of that, or you not this and you not that, because you wasn't for him.
Was he old?
Honestly, I was so startled, stranger danger, I didn't even get a chance to look at him. I'm gonna keep it real. But I do, when he did like shove it in my hand, I was like, okay, thank you. You know, because, I mean, it's nothing to be polite.
Right.
You know, like, it is what it is. He just did it so fast. I'm not gonna lie, I was startled. I backed up. I was like, you know, I didn't know what to do. But I wasn't gonna be like, nah.
I just haven't seen somebody write their number down in so long.
First of all, I want to know where he was standing, that he was looking at me, that he had time to get a pen, a paper.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Now, he had this paper in his bag. This came off or something. This is a notepad. He carries around a notepad. And I ain't mad at him. He's prepared. He's looking for the one. You know, he's shooting his shot. You know, but the point is that I'm trying to make, it's like, there's going to be a million people that's not for you.
Right.
We still have to realize that we're human and you have emotions and these things have ripple effects.
Right.
You know, like even when I was talking about the guys, like, oh, you know, let me get your number. Like, listen, I'm not the one for you, but I want this to have a lasting ripple effect that when you do see someone that you think might be of quality, like, yeah, it's going to work on the birds, it's going to work on the fun things and whatever. And that's what that's for.
Right.
But if you approaching someone that you know is like up here, and I don't mean as far as status or looks, I'm just talking about like you already know someone's aura is quality. You know what I'm saying? How they conduct themselves, how other people treat them in the room, etc. You just can't, you got to come correct for something real. You know what I'm saying? That job, them sneakers, whatever it is that you want, I bet you come correct for. So when you're talking about the opposite sex, it's just as important. So in terms, like going back to what Ebony Williams said, I mean, I wouldn't push anybody at a young age to get married. Know yourself, because you don't even know who you are. You don't even know what you want. Your wants change depending on what you're going through. And, man, just do you.
Yeah.
Marriage doesn't always have to be the goal. And I think
most of the people I know that were young and got married, I say 90% of them are divorced now. Mm-hmm. When they got married, like teenagers or young or 20, 21, you know, they divorced.
And again, there's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't mean mark it as a failure. It just literally was that you guys didn't know yourselves enough to know how you would be together. You know, that doesn't mean that you can't last with someone that age. But the thing about it is, what happens is because, you know, I was in a relationship like that was long like that when I was younger. You know, the other person doesn't accept that you're changing. That you're changing because your goals and your ambition. If you do get with someone at a young age and y'all feel like this is the one, I think one of the biggest pieces of advice that I can give is learn to accept change. You have to be malleable, especially if this is the person that you want to be with the rest of your life. Right. Communication is important because, I mean, it can last. I mean, our grandparents did it. You know, our great-grandparents did it. You know, obviously it was under different circumstances.
Yeah, it was a little different back then.
No, but it was less distractions.
Yeah,
you know, it was a lot going on. But at the end of the day...
That's when they was having 10 kids.
10 kids, keep your ass home while I'm outside. You know, it's a little different. We ain't going to compare it.
Right.
But it is because of the distractions and the communication issues. We don't even know how to communicate with each other.
And accessibility.
You
know, they have too much access right now because... You know, you can pick up this little computer in your hand and see people all over the world. You know, before it was like you had to actually travel. And I say that too because when we came up building FUBU, we actually had to be at the events. We had to go there. We had to travel to the Super Bowl, to the All-Star games, and, you know, wherever we wanted to go, we had to travel there. There was no way for us to just see what's going on. We had to be there. 1,000%. Now you can, you know, they got live streaming. You could just live stream everything, look on your phone or on your computer and actually be in the moment without being in the moment. You know what I mean? So.
Oh, I do want to say one last thing about what Ebony Williams said. She said there are 7 Black women to every 1 Black man student.
But she's in college, right?
In college. Now, and I want to say this for y'all out there, all right? College, all right? It's just a place to learn. You know, it's at the end of the day, it's not a requirement or a necessity for success. Yeah. And we see 22-year-olds making millions of dollars, 21, 19, 14 even. It's about them following their passions and their dreams. And I think to say, you know, to go after the college, Black educated brothers, I ain't mad at it. You know, I get it. It's a different experience, you know.
But then I also have a problem with that too. Because, yeah, it's no problem in trying to shoot your shot with someone who you may consider that's on your level. But just because you're college educated and they're college educated, that doesn't mean that it's going to work.
Books or you're going to common sense.
Yeah, you're going to match up like that. You know, now I'm not saying you be a college educated person and date somebody who's a criminal, you know, but I have seen executive women with straight up thugs, and it works.
Because opposites attract at the end of the day.
It works.
And also, like, I you know, had a conversation with someone, and they said, you know, I went to college, you know, and I thought I was supposed to be with someone who went to college, a lawyer, accountant, or whatever the case is. But the thing about it is, I wasn't. I was attracted to the girls that, like, basically their looks, who didn't go to college, and I wasn't really attracted to these girls, but I was trying to do the right thing.
Right.
You know, so you end up cheating, you end up doing all these things and whatever case is, because you think you're supposed to be with someone when really in your heart, your soul, your body, you're just like, I kind of like this over here,
Right.
but I'm going to save this for face purposes. And I think that's messed up, like you said. Like, listen, y'all don't got to be on the same level. You just got to be on the same page. You know, and that speaks volumes.
Right.
Because... Yo, like you said, like an educated woman, you know, she works with a thug because, like, why? He protects her, he provides for her. You know what I'm saying? He probably does other things that a college-educated man wouldn't even, you know,
probably talk
probably
to a certain
do,
way,
you know?
You know?
And powerful women sometimes need a powerful guy, and not in the sense of college. It's like no. I want to come home and know that you the alpha. Why do I got to be the alpha?
True.
You know? And the same goes, you know, for college-educated men. I might not want to be with a girl who's like, this, that. I went to college. I have a degree. Don't be trying to, like, I want to be with someone fun. Because I went to school freaking 14 years, and I just want to have fun. You know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, listen, she made some points. If you are someone who you know you want to have a family, you know you want to be married, you should date with the intention of that. Right. But I don't think necessarily targeting just guys in your own pool. You're limiting yourself off to the world before you even experienced it. So I'm gonna
Bingo.
say that. All right. Speaking of being, listen, I got a lot to talk about. We only got a few minutes left. Did you see the new update for the iPhone?
Yeah, it's dope. I like it.
Oh, you like it?
Yeah, I like it.
Did you know, like, it like really actually tracks you GPS wise if you share it with your partner?
What do you mean share?
So, let me tell you. There's this thing called check-in on the new update, right?
I don't know nothing about that.
Oh, yeah, I'm about to put you on. I'm about to put you on. So there's a thing called check-in, right? And what it is basically kind of like when you share your location with someone, but this tells you their every move. I'm talking about like, oh, well, their phone battery is charged. I know how many bars they got.
What?
And look. The bars, I know if they're connected to Wi-Fi, and I know if they have their Apple Watch, and if that has battery. So no more telling your significant other, oh, my phone died, or I didn't have any service,
but
or nothing like
how
that.
could they do that? Like,
so obviously,
you have to share.
You have to share it,
okay.
right? And a lot of relationships, they do share it, you know?
Yeah.
But then it's like, okay, well, you know, I know my girl's tracking my phone, or my man is tracking my phone, I'm gonna leave my phone in the car. No, this is gonna tell you the last time you unlocked it, and it also tells you even if you took off your Apple Watch. So
wow, that's crazy.
Now, I was reading the comments in this, and a lot of people had to say, you know, their little stuff. They was just basically saying, you know, if you do better, you know, you ain't got to worry about that stuff, you know? But
I think it's becoming invasive now.
It's very invasive.
Like, you know, my wife and I, we don't require each other passwords to our phone. We don't, you know, be looking in our phone, who that, watching it. It's just what it is, you know? And I think once you start getting into all of that right there, that's too much.
You're setting up high expectations for any, like, amount of disappointment. Now, what I will say about that is, if you get to the point emotionally, mentally, where you feel like, I need to know where my significant other is at all times, one, I think you need to address something within yourself. But second, if you feel like you're secure, but something is making you insecure about the situation you're in, those are usually the red flags at the beginning of the end. Because I want to have trust between my partner. You know what I'm saying? Listen, we're humans.
Yeah, if you say you're going here, then that's where you're going. I'm not going to question you. I'm not going to track you and none of that, unless you give me a reason to. But if you don't give me the reason to, I'm not looking for all of that. I'm not looking for an escape. Like, sometimes people, like, there'll be nothing going on, and people will be like, what's going on? Like, you doing something? And there don't even nothing going on. And that breaks up relationships, too, because when a person is being accused all the time of doing something, and they ain't doing nothing, then they be like, man, I can't take this no more.
No, you can't take it. Then it makes you start looking at the other person funny, like, what are you doing that's making you feel like that I'm doing something? Because clearly you have enough time on your hands.
Say it again for the people in the back.
You think that I'm doing it, so you just want to match my energy.
Yeah, man.
Listen, I don't like it. I think it's great for kids.
Yeah, for kids.
I think it's great for kids, you know, especially if you have like a, you know, your kid is going into that teenage phase, you know, because let's be honest, like, they're getting into all types of stuff. People are getting kidnapped, killed, duped. I saw a clip where these people asked this mother about her kid. She was like, you trust your kid? Would you believe that she would answer any DMs from a stranger, meet them? And she was like, no, absolutely not. So they set up a DM, sent it to the daughter, was like, oh, come meet me here, yada, 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 from a fake profile, everything, right? Pretended to be some guy that she liked or whatever, right? The girl gets up in the middle of the night, rides a little scooter over to this house. A random man opens the door, right? And she's like, oh, I'm here for such and such, right? And he's like, oh, yeah, he's upstairs. Let me let you in. She goes in the house, goes upstairs. He leads her to the bedroom, and she sits on the bed, right? So get this. The moms was there the whole time, and she's in shock. So they have the moms in the room, right, with the mask on. So when they flicked the lights and the girl was in there, she went like to go attack her, and the girl was screaming, was mad scared. And then the moms took off her mask and was like, yo, what are you doing here? Wow. Like you don't know how much worse this could have gotten for you. Wow, and the reality of it is something like that it is invasive privacy. But if you do have kids, I do think that it's a great update because they're coming into their own. I remember what it was like being 13. You think you're responsible for yourself. Like you think you know your friends, but you don't know enough of the world to make good decisions.
Yeah, and also too is how you communicate with your kids, because like even my mom's. Like, she always kept it 100 with me about everything. Like, she told me everything to watch out. Like, even how to look a person in their eyes when they talk to you. Like, she's like, look him straight in the eye when he says something to you.
And a firm handshake.
Yeah, firm handshake. And and certain things she would tell me about what's going on out in the world and what to look out for and what to pay attention to. A lot of kids, she used to talk to me about sex and
you came from the school of hard knocks. You was lucky enough to have a parent that was present enough for that, though.
But some parents, like, or even some people that I know that's my age, they be like, oh, I could never say that to my mother, or I could never have that conversation with my father. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. Like, I know what it is for my father, because I couldn't have it with my father. Like, we didn't really have that type of relationship. But my mother was like my father and my mother, because on one end, she was nurturing, but then I'll be walking down the hall and I pass in the hall and she'd swing at me and just to see if I'm on point. And I used to be like, yo, what you doing? She'd be like, put your hands up. Like, she'd be in the hallway like, I'd be like, yo, Ma,
but she tested you for life. You know? And but that's not common.
So it's sometimes it is what you, like, some people try to hide everything from their kids. And especially in this day and age.
But it's not even just about hiding it. It's like, okay, well, I want to give my child a different childhood than I had. Maybe I grew up rough or was too strict or whatever the case may be. But we got to realize that we are the products of our environment, our raisings,
give
our
it
teaching.
To them straight, no chasing.
You got to give it. I'm going to be honest with you. That's how my dad raised me. We talk. My dad was actually talking the other day. And he's like, I always spoke to you like you was a little human, regular person. He was like, because I remember one day you was making me so mad and I was yelling at you. And you just looked at me and was like, why are you yelling at me? And he was like, I had to ask myself why I was yelling at you, And he's like, and that's when, like, I appreciated the person you were becoming, because you just telling me, like, yo, like, whatever it is, like, we can just talk about it, but all this noise, And I mean, it shows to this day, because I'm a straight up asking you. I'm like, yo, what is you doing? Because to be honest with you, like, it's that initial shot. It just checks someone, You can have an open conversation with your kids. But you also, let's be real, you can have an open, honest conversation with your kid and they still gonna do some other shit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, listen, what kind of kid you have. I think it's good not necessarily to just be all up in their business as kids, but necessarily just to make sure that they're good for their protection, because there's a lot of stuff going on out here with the kidnappings and,
it's a whole new world today.
It's a whole new world. And, but as far as relationships go, don't be tracking your man's phone. You're going to be wondering who's on that street, where the studio is. Like, it's just, it's downhill.
Yeah.
If you can't trust your partner and what they say at face value, then you need to start reconsidering who you're with. Or what it is that you need to feel trust. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not necessarily like, yo, I don't trust you, let's break it off. It's like, okay, well, listen, I'm having issues about trust. I want to talk to you about it. I'm not accusing you of anything, but I want to ease my mind. But after you have that conversation, you do not have the right to keep attacking.
Right.
But, that's what I would say about that. We had a nice little conversation about relationships.
Oh, yeah. Nah, you got to do this more often.
No, we are. We're going to do this more often because I got a lot to say. I wanted to bring up some, some
what else you got? You got something else?
I do.
We got time for one more?
No, this going to be a long one.
The next one gonna be a long one.
It's gonna be a long one.
We can't do it. We can't shorten it. No.
I'm pressed on time. You know,
Okay.
I'm light skinned. I got things to do.
Oh God.
Okay, I got things to do. No, but we gonna keep this going. We definitely gonna have. Oh, sorry. We definitely gonna have more conversations talking about
let's
these
do
things
it.
because I definitely really want to talk about what's going on in the love and hip hop universe. You know, because I want to dissect that a little. bit
Love and
more.
hip hop. Yeah.
It's getting a little crazy. You know, I didn't want to say anything, but now I'm ready. I got all my information.
Okay,
And we're gonna just
okay.
have to attack it.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because when we was building the radio station, one of the reasons that I wanted to go the direction we were going in was because I see what they're putting out there, and it's not only Love and Hip Hop, it's other shows out there, but it shows us in a light that's not.
It's not accurate.
It's not. First of all, it's not accurate, but we're not all like that. And then I think that, you know, with them continually show from show to show to show to show is brainwashing these kids into to believe like this is how life is, and it's really not like that. Like it's not, you know, like I be sitting home and I be watching, I be like, okay, so this one's gonna say something about this one, and then this one's gonna check her, and then they're gonna start fighting. And my wife just look at me like, what are you talking about? I said, watch. And it happens just the way I say
it's
it.
a
And I'm just
script.
like, I said, it's scripted. It's so scripted. They have to do this in order for it to, you know, clickbait. You know, everybody wants to know who beat up who and this, that, and the third. And it's just like, I'm just over it, really.
I mean, listen, it ain't been no changes since the Coliseum days, you know, when they had the gladiators in there. Unfortunately, you know, it's one of the negative sides of the human psyche. You know, we like to see violence, we like to
True.
see pain. We see it as entertainment to take away from our internal pain.
Yeah,
But
true.
like I said, we're going to have to dig deeper into that the next
Because
time.
you know what? I like to see, you know, sometimes I'll compare certain shows and I'm like, why did this show can be like this and be so happy-go-lucky and funny and just so damn good? But on the other hand, this show start off one way. Because even when Married to the Medicine, I think, I was like, oh, yes. They have some women up there that ain't going to be fighting and going through it and blah, blah, blah. The first season, we got through, you know, a couple of shows and, you know, it was little arguments here and there. But when that second season came around, they switched the whole thing up to be exactly like every other show. And I was like, really? So you got these professional women acting like this right now on TV?
They
It
got
shouldn't be
themselves
like that.
acting like that.
Yeah, and then-
'Cause they acting like that for a check. But like I said,
Yeah.
we got to dissect that.
Okay, we'll get into that next time.
You trying to force
I'm trying
it
to
on
bring
me.
it out, yeah.
I'm not getting into it. All right, but we definitely gonna have these conversations. You know what I'm saying? You got to tap in if you want to see Chrys and Mr. Kizo. You know, having
Yes,
these deep
sir.
conversations because again, these are the things that affect us. These are the things that are going on in our daily life, and these are conversations that we should be having with each other. And if you ain't got no friends to talk about it with, come and talk to us about it.
Yeah, yes, sir.
All right, we're gonna check you. Make sure you tap in. You know, FUBU Radio, U42. I'm your girl, Chrys.
With a Y, don't ask her why.
Nope.
Kizo, check it out.
All right, y'all. Check you later.
Peace.